Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be talking about the newest disturbance that the National Hurricane Center is now monitoring. They have been monitoring it for the past several days. At this point, it now has a low 0% chance of development still for the next couple of days, but it has a medium 60% chance of development over the next week. As of now, a large tropical wave located over the Lesser Antilles continues to produce a broad area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms, while development in the short term is not anticipated as the system moves over portions of the Greater Antilles. Environmental conditions are forecast to gradually become more conducive for development as the system moves generally west-northwestward towards the Bahamas and Cuba. A tropical depression could form this weekend or early next week when the system is in the vicinity of the Greater Antilles, Bahamas, or near Florida. Interest in the Greater Antilles, the Bahamas, and the southeastern United States should monitor the progress of the system. And I'll show you the general area that the National Hurricane Center thinks it will likely form into a tropical cyclone in, and you can see it includes basically the whole Florida peninsula here. But we'll look at the models in a sec, and the models are kind of hinting that like maybe it'll kind of form on the more southern end and go towards the western part of Florida, along the west coast of Florida and the Gulf, and then kind of maybe spin around and go into the southeast, deep south there, and but then maybe as well loop and go into the southwest Atlantic, going back over Florida. But I don't know. Well, it's a very weird situation going on because the models don't really fully seem to have great understanding of what the system will really do. So first off, we'll look at the GFS model. This is the current 12Z run of it, and we'll move it forward into this weekend, and then you can see as we head into Sunday and Monday, a much more pronounced, well-defined low pressure center and system forms as it enters the eastern and northeastern Gulf of Mexico. It then hits the panhandle of Florida and the Big Bend area of Florida, but then it kind of like stalls out and spins around in the very northeastern parts of the Gulf of Mexico, and then goes back into the deep south and spins out, bringing heavy rain and flooding likely for that whole area, but then doesn't really do anything else and dissipates over that region. So that's what the GFS is showing. Very strange, very odd kind of track. Let's look at the European model. We'll have to look at the 0Z model because the Tropical Tidbits doesn't have the 18 or the 12Z run in yet, which is really annoying. It for some reason lags in here onto Tropical Tidbits a lot later than on other sites, so it's truly a pain in the ass, you could say. So the 0Z run from earlier this morning shows, for the European model, shows the system moving across the southwestern Atlantic and has a really giant plume of moisture with it, but then as we get towards Sunday and Monday, it takes a much more eastern track and goes to the east of Florida, stays in the southwest Atlantic, and goes up the southeast coast, strengthens a bit, and then heads more out to sea after it is off the coast of the Carolinas. So that's what the European model is showing. It's somewhat of an outlier at this point, according to the 0Z run of it. It seemed like the 18Z run that I was able to look at off of Pivotal Weather was kind of curving more in alignment with what the GFS was somewhat showing, going into the Gulf of Mexico and hitting the Panhandle, Florida, and that general region. But it's kind of hard to show you guys that. Now, the Canadian model, 12Z run of the Canadian, shows somewhat of a similar thing to what the GFS is showing, except the Canadian has it being a very, very weak system overall, going into the Gulf of Mexico and to just off the west coast of Florida, and then kind of crosses Florida into the southwest Atlantic off the southeast coast, and then just kind of stalls there and gets somewhat of a little bit of a strength boost from the warm waters there right off the southeast coast of the Carolinas and Georgia. And continues to bring heavy rain and flooding to that region. But models in general at this point still, for some reason, just don't have a good understanding or grasp of really where the system will go and what it will do, because we just don't know where the center of circulation will really start to form, whether it'll be on the southern part of the system or the northern part of the system. That will really dictate whether or not in this general region where the National Hurricane Center has it forming, and whether it'll actually form to the east of Florida and kind of go up the southeast coast a bit, or it'll go a little further south and then go into the eastern Gulf of Mexico more and impact more than just like the west coast and Gulf Coast of Florida and the Gulf Coast of the U.S. So we'll just really have to continue to watch and see. So unfortunately, we don't really have a good understanding of what it's going to do. We'll just have to wait through the weekend and into next week to see what will happen. All right, so the La Nina we're still not in the La Nina, but we're very close at this point, because now the Nina 3.4 region of the Pacific is now at a negative 0.509 degrees Celsius, and a La Nina is technically defined as being at negative 5 Celsius or below for an extended period of time. So we'll see how quickly the CPC or whatever will actually declare that we're actually now in a La Nina. For now, we're still in a very cool neutral phase. But it seems now that especially the 3.4 region, which is what we really go off of to see whether or not we're in a La Nina, neutral, or El Nino phase. We'll see if we will be officially into a La Nina if this continues to rapidly cool like it has been the last few days. So it'll be very interesting to see. Sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic Basin, very warm through the Caribbean, through the Southwest Atlantic, in the Gulf of Mexico especially. That's always generally the warmest part of the whole Atlantic Basin. You can see if this system does go into especially the eastern Gulf of Mexico, it will have no problem at all to intensify and get its act together and become a stronger tropical system, because water temperatures, sea surface temperatures in this region are 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, which is way warm enough to allow rapid strengthening, extreme strengthening of tropical cyclones. Now, even if it does go into the Southwest Atlantic and go into off of the southeast coast, it will still be dealing with water temperatures of 29, 30, 31 Celsius. So that's still plenty warm for it to strengthen and get its act together and become a much more consolidated, stronger tropical system. But especially if it goes into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, it will have its best shot of really rapidly strengthening and getting its act together. So we're going to have to watch that very, very closely. As of now, the water temperatures it's in is still 28, 29 Celsius. So it's still plenty warm. It's just it doesn't have a good center of circulation. So it can't really strengthen at all or really be classified as a tropical system yet. At this point in the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, we have already had 3 named storms, 1 hurricane, 1 major hurricane, that being Hurricane Beryl, which intensified and became Category 5, the record earliest Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic ever. The second Category 5 hurricane on record to occur in July, and the strongest June hurricane, peaking at Category 4 in the month of June before it eventually got to a peak of its own of Category 5 once we entered July. So truly incredible start to the season, to be honest. At this point, even though we've only had 3 named storms, one of them was a Category 5, so regardless, it's still a crazy start to the season. ACE index at this point is already all the way up to 36.1 units. Most of that is only due to Beryl. Only really, I think, 1 unit of that is because of Alberto and Chris combined. So this next system, though, that we're monitoring likely will become the next name on the list, the D name, Debby. So and we'll see how strong this system will end up getting. It's still not put as an invest or anything yet, I don't think, according to the National Hurricane Center. Let's just check to see off of this. No, it's just all systems in the Eastern Pacific right now that are either an invest or a tropical depression. So that is really it for today's video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it, found it informative, helpful, interesting. Like the video, comment down below. How strong do you think the system will get? Where do you think it will track? Do you think it will go a little further north and go kind of more towards like the east of Florida and up the southeast coast? Or do you think it will go a little further south and west and head into the eastern Gulf of Mexico and more impact the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast, and the Gulf Coast region? Let's have a nice lively discussion down there in the comments section where you guys think the system will go. How strong do you think it'll get? Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.